Well, the simple answer is it was this compelling desire to live a life of purpose and to chase my dream. I had been privileged to work in two distinctly different environments. For a couple of years, once I'd finished varsity, I'd worked in a pastoral youth care type of environment, and that had given me wonderful exposure to working with people in transformative ways and being on a stage and talking to people, and my heart came alive in those situations. I'd also had the privilege of working for two great multinational companies, and both these companies had taught me a lot about the corporate world, and I relished in it and loved it. The question mark was always, do these two different streams ever merge? One day I went on a leadership program, and the company I was at sent us on the most brilliant leadership training. And I went on the leadership training and I was absolutely hypnotized by the facilitator and the way he danced with us as a group. That day, it was a 2-day program with him, but that evening of the first day, I went and said to him, I need to do what you do, because all of a sudden these two roads made sense and they merged. And that began a journey of friendship and mentoring with this particular facilitator, and I'm forever indebted to him. And it was a couple of years later where I eventually plucked up the courage to say, it's time. I knew the name of the organization I wanted to create, and it was, if I'm not finished by the end of 2005, I feel I'm going to be missing the boat. And so my last day in corporate employment was the 31st of December 2005, and a company called Gold Digger Into Actions was formed. So Gold Digger Into Actions was started on the 1st of January 2006, and that month we raised one invoice for 500 Rand. I always swore that I was going to frame that invoice, but I never ever did. And now I think it's totally lost in the archives, but I'll never forget that feeling of going from a salary to this one invoice of 500 Rand. Now, people often ask about the name, and I must admit, looking back, was it a good decision to call an organization Gold Digger Into Actions, which by the way then morphed to Gold Digger Change Catalyst Agency when there was a legal change of how we did business. And I don't know, but here's the deal. Gold Digger is about digging beneath the surface, finding the wealth of gold that was in there. And what my corporate experience had shown me was that there was so much resourcefulness within the teams of organizations, but often we didn't dig beneath the surface and find the gold that was there. So I was on this quest to try and, through the wonderful art of facilitation, get people to dig beneath the surface and find the value that is within them and within their team, because that's where great things happen, when we dig beneath the surface and we find more and we use what we find to now go and do great things. I remember one day getting a phone call from a guy, and he said, Mike, we need your services. And when I went to go and see him, he then later admitted to me, he said, I forgot your name, but I never forgot the name of your organization, and that's how I now got hold of you. So there were some real advantages to it, but yeah, without a doubt, it caused some confusion for some people because obviously of the negative connotations with it. I didn't really think about that when the name was originally formed. But we remained Gold Digger Change Catalyst Agency for about 13 years, 12, 13 years. And then something interesting happened. Even before that, we began to fall in love with the idea of one day having a coffee shop, and the coffee shop name would be Cafe Life. I had fallen in love with the coffee culture, and most of my work, my best work, was done in a coffee shop where there was buzz to give me energy, but there wasn't intimacy in terms of knowing people so that I could keep focused. And so I found this environment absolutely magical. And the thought sort of emerged was, imagine having a coffee shop where you coach, you facilitate, and people do life as well. Mandy, my wife, also was besotted with this idea. And so we actually got a friend of ours, an artist friend of ours, who painted like on quite a big piece of wood, cafe life in these beautiful colors, which went on the one lounge we had in the house we were staying at up in Hillcrest, Durban. So that's where Cafe Life name became part of us, but we never ever thought it would actually become the organization. Then in 2017, Mandy and I decided to write a book, and it was called Cafe Life, How the Question Changes Everything. And the idea of Cafe Life there was we need to ask ourselves good questions, and the best place to ask good questions is to be in that state like you are in a coffee shop, where the world's a good place, and you take that sip of coffee and you take a deep breath and you just ponder and you think. And so Cafe Life, How the Question Changes Everything, was published towards the end of 2017, early 2018. And then Mandy came up with this one day where she looked at the words C-A-F-E of cafe and said, how interesting, coaching and facilitation experiences. And that was so neat, so good, smart. And we'd been pondering, was the name Gold Digger Change Catalyst Agency, did it create some degree of confusion for people? And so we made this natural morph to just become Cafe Life. The legal name still being Gold Digger, but the trading as being Cafe Life. The interesting thing about Cafe Life for us is it fits into one of our key philosophies, and that is asking good questions and finding yourself in a place where you can be mindful and be resourceful and dig deep in. The main reason though, this was a sense of purpose for me. It was a dream which I knew I had to step out and take hold of, and for me, doing what I do is living into that dream.